I am looking forward to our next panel, Game On, Reinventing Media and the Rise of New Sports. Now, when we're always talking about innovation, fandom, storytelling, and technology, how does all this come together? It's about to happen on this stage. Now, the sports and entertainment sectors are reinventing themselves as we speak. Not just the rules, but also the games, but the rules of engagement, right? So from metadata broadcasting to the community-driven formats, we are seeing plenty of opportunities for live events, for content creators, and for platforms alike. So what can we learn as an events industry? Now, I'm excited to be bringing our panel up on stage in just a few moments. This will be moderated by Mr. Koo Yoo-jin, Sasio's EXCO member. Please join us on stage. A warm round of applause for Yoo-jin. He is joined by his panel, Mr. Elliot Renton, Senior Vice President, Asia Pacific, Magnifi. We also have Ms. Sheila Rasu, VP Head of Fan Acquisition and Engagement, NBA Asia. We also have Ms. Wong Li-Lin, Lead of Mint Media Sports. Now, as we've done for our previous panels, we would love for this to be an engaging one with Pigeonhole Live, so please submit your questions for our panelists. And dare I say, let the games begin. Yoo-jin, time is all yours.
All right, thanks, Charmaine. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you enjoyed your tea break. Welcome to the penultimate panel. Across Asia Pacific, we're seeing a powerful convergence. Sports, entertainment, media, and live events. Blurring lines, breaking formats, creating richer, more immersive audience experiences. So from traditional sports like football, basketball, to new emerging sports like padel, or even high rocks, if you consider that a sport. All this real-time content creation, AI-driven personalization, the reinvention is happening fast. And it's highly relevant to all of us in the MICE industry because the same shifts, audience expectations, storytelling, tech, hybrid thinking, how we plan, produce, execute exciting event experiences. There's a lot for us to learn from how the sports world has adapted. So I'm thrilled to be joined by three panelists who bring sharp insights from the forefronts of this transformation. First, let's talk about audience engagement and community building. Let's start with Sheila. Congratulations on the recently concluded NBA Rising Stars tournament. Tell us a bit more about the tournament and how they end up being in Singapore.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So at the NBA, it was very important for us to connect with our fans. So you talk about storytelling and fan engagement, and our recently concluded event. We look at it three ways. Our most important way is actually getting our content, our live games and programmings to our fans in a format localized on whatever device they're on. So that's really important. The second piece to which we just concluded our event, the NBA Rising Stars Invitational, is bringing that NBA experience closer to our fans. 99% of NBA fans will have never stepped into an arena or be able to watch a live game. And so how do we bring NBA experiences to them? And so this could be in the form of an NBA store, a destination, and then to your point, one of the experiences that we have is just the way we put on events. So this is kind of what the NBA Rising Stars Invitational is. And then the third piece is really creating more opportunities for boys and girls to play the game so that they start playing the sport at a young age, and then hopefully they become NBA fans. So the NBA Rising Stars Invitational was actually the first time the league has done a high school tournament, which featured the top high school boys and girls teams from 11 countries across Asia Pacific. And we flew them in. It was like a Champions League format. And so all these champions from their own respective countries were competing to be the first ever NBA Rising Stars champion. So that was kind of what we concluded a couple of weeks ago.
We had two teams from Singapore participate, right?
We actually had three teams.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did they do?
The girls' teams did better than the boys' team.
How old were they?
Yeah. So this is high school, so under 18. So typically 16 to 18. Yeah.
Okay. And then my earlier question again, why was it Singapore for this inaugural tournament?
Because she's
That's
here.
I'm
That's that's why.
Like, is Singapore a very important market for the NBA?
It is
or-
strategically important for us. You know, we're trying to grow the game. We're trying to grow the sport. Singapore is a regional hub, as many of you, of course, know. We opened our office in Singapore about 3 years ago, and so it just made sense for us to be entrenched into the community, and so we brainstormed actually with the Singapore Tourism Board and Sport SG on what we can do to engage with fans, engage with the basketball community, and thus was born this tournament. It's a first ever for us, which is typically, it's interesting because as the NBA, we're known as a professional league. So to do a high school event, it's different. But you know, I think it was a success, and we're hoping that we continue to do this for years to come.
Okay. So from a traditional sport like basketball, let's move on to emerging sport like padel. So to Li-Lin, you know, growing emerging, actually padel's not an emerging sport.
No, it's
existed
around,
since the 60s,
it's been around
right?
for over 60 years.
Yeah.
And it was started by a Mexican guy and then popularized in Spain. And there was a Spanish town called Malaga, and all the Swedes were traveling there on the summer holidays, and it became really popular in the rest of Europe as a result. So, but it's really, really gained traction in the last, I would say, 3 years. In 2022, with the emergence of an entity, an IP called Premier Padel.
Okay.
And Premier Padel is backed by the Qataris, and it's being broadcast on beIN Sports and all that.
But how did it like explode in 3 years? Like everyone's playing F1 players.
No, I think
you know.
there's always been people playing, but because there's such a push for it with the Premier Padel, in the past there was maybe only 2 main events, right? And they were very small, like small prizes and all that. But with Premier Padel, they kind of put it up and professionalized it a lot. So I think we're still really early in the adoption curve. Now in Asia, like 2 years ago, if I told somebody about padel, go like, what's this? You know, and last year, then 50% of people knew, and then now this year, everyone's playing. So it's just getting the infrastructure now to keep up with the demand.
So audiences, they are lifeblood of both sport as well as events, right? And I think from an events perspective, there is really a lot to learn in terms of how you kind of like grow your audiences like tenfold, hundredfold so quickly.
So I don't have to do it at the moment. So fortunately, I don't have a product market fit to have to test, right? It's there. So now I'm actually, because we've identified the sport about 4 years ago, and we've only just started building it, or we were quite looking for space from last year. So starting it has just been like an onslaught. So the difference now, because it's so early in the curve, I think it's very important for all the actors in the sector to ensure that they're not looking just in the short term, because it's very easy to just get overridden because everybody wants to play the sport right now. You've got to plan for the mid and the longer term, and that would mean stewarding the sport in Singapore, professionalizing it, and then creating different industries out of it, including MICE industries. Yeah.
Okay, and then on to Elliot, the tech guy, right?
I can sell tech. I'm not very techy, but yeah, go for it.
Okay. So obviously with AI metadata shaping how sports content is created and distributed, going back to our topic, how do you then basically leverage on tech to ensure that, you know, you create experiences that audiences will embrace?
Yeah, so I'm lucky enough to be working for a company called Magnifi. We do AI highlights for lots of leagues and federations and broadcasters in the industry. And I think, certainly since COVID, but it's actually been going on for a long, long time, you've got a fragmentation of audience. So if you are a league like the NBA, they've got a worldwide addressable audience, but that's getting fragmented all the time. So as Sheila has pointed out, you've got to keep coming up with new formats, and you've got to keep working the product to the right audience at the right time. And so this is where AI comes in from a content point of view. To reach more audiences, you have short-form content, you have bite-sized nuggets of content, you have personalized player content, creator-led content, and then that's that's rolled over into more emerging sports or growth sports like padel. So we will provide AI highlight solutions for sports large and small. And it's playing on the fact that a guy like me wants to watch a couple of matches in a row, but an 18-year-old doesn't want to watch more than 5 minutes. But at the same time, the demand is still there on production value, the kind of content you might create, what kind of personalities can be involved, and having it in real time. So these are the challenges that AI is trying to address from a content point of view.
So we were just talking about it off stage, right? So like for me, I'm a very casual NBA fan. I only watch the playoffs. And in fact, I only watch the second half or maybe only quarter four. So how do you then still capture the attention of audiences like that? And I think that's quite similar to how events are like, right? We have a full day conference, you know, this session's interesting, that one maybe not so. So how can then, you know, tech leverage and then make sure that you retain some of these audiences and even grow new ones?
Yeah, so I think just rolling it back a little bit, we're in a sports industry which is now going through it's probably one of the industries in the world that's going through the most disruption. It's actually quite staggering on all facets of the sports industry where the disruption is, whether that is broadcast production, media rights, sponsorship, new emerging sports hurting traditional sports. There's disruption right the way through. So that's then challenging status quo in, you know, funding and revenue coming in, but then how you're reaching new audiences, how you're retaining existing audience. So a lot of the businesses that we're working with have to embrace technology in order to meet the demand of fans, but they're also having to meet the demand of sponsors. So, you know, you've got to have content on demand, you've got to have content in real time, and you've got to have it in the right format on the right platform.
Yep.
So you'll have to have a strategy for TikTok and Instagram, as well as YouTube, as well as traditional TV, as well as website, owned and operated mobile apps that the leagues may have, or emerging partners that a sport like padel might wanting to bring in. So it's causing an enormous amount of challenge on sports.
I think overall, sports has been really good about embracing experimentation. They're quite quick to adapt. I would say sports, generally businesses look towards sports because it's a very dynamic market share. They're great at entertainment, they're great at content, they're great at fan engagement. I mean, one of the aspects that Magnifi does is just zoning and pulling down on that. You do a lot of engagement, whether it's hybrid or modular. I think it's important to now know that content being the new currency, how people are consuming and are catering it despite your different types of businesses will be really critical for you to succeed in that step.
I mean, from a fan perspective, right? So we just, if you think about how people consume sports these days, the days of just airing it on TV is gone, right? There is still a place and a time for it, but that cannot be the only way you reach your fans. To the younger fan, they don't own a TV. They watch everything on a mobile device. And so how do we create formats, present our game, present our highlights in a format that they are used to consuming content on, and ensuring that that content is engaging. So to your point, where, you know, you don't sit through a 2.5-hour NBA game. So then, okay, so if you don't want to sit through a 2.5-hour game, we have a condensed 10-minute game. You don't want to watch 10 minutes, that's too long, then we have highlights. You don't want to watch highlights, then maybe we have sound bites. So we even have audiophile podcasts. So it's really being where we think the fan is, and we don't always get it right. So there's a lot of trial and testing.
Yeah.
And then, to your point, embracing new technologies, changing formats, all of this. Yeah.
I think summarizing it, essentially you're thinking about all content or all businesses being an experience versus just what you're trying to deliver.
Yeah, which pretty much means that, you know, for the events industry, it's again really depending on the attendee experience and then curating different formats for different audiences.
And you want to probably look at it like how to make it, hybridize it or make it modular, you know, so that you expand the view. You don't just have this, here's the hour that you watch. Can I, after this 2 days of events, can I have it in other setup? If you look at F1, they've done a really good job combining whether it's data-powered stuff. The car in itself and the races itself, there's a lot of data generated, right? And because of their whole Netflix and all sorts of stuff, they've used that and permeated it or perpetuated it. Whether it becomes interactive and immersive, then this is where the tech comes in, the AR, VR, XR kind of aspects. And if you look at somewhere at Dempsey where they have the F1 showroom and all that, so it's not just on the track, they have experiences outside of the track as well.
Yeah, I was planning to talk about Formula One,
I
but let's
jumped to
skip
it,
to
sorry.
that. No, let's talk about it. Because I think there are a lot of lessons to glean from Formula One, especially in Singapore. So I would say that Liberty Media, the owners of F1, I think they've done quite a number of things, right? One is to create parity among the cars, right? So that there's differentiation between drivers versus the cars. And then secondly, really, it's, growing sponsorships. They have lots of celebrities, attending the races, obviously collaborating with Netflix on the Drive to Survive, if I got it right. So with all of this, and then we come down to F1 Singapore, I think it's a very powerful example of cross-sector collaboration between sport and MICE, essentially our topic, right? Where the F1 race brings about additional fringe MICE activities around it. So in your opinion, like what other opportunities are there to, create that kind of cross-collaboration and success between sport and MICE?
Yeah. I mean, I can talk a little bit about from a league perspective. So one of our key temples is the NBA All-Star Weekend. It's kind of the break in the mid-season where we visit a city, depending on which city bids and wins the bid to host an NBA All-Star Weekend, and we take over the city. So it's all around the 3-day weekend where we have a tournament that's called the NBA Rising Stars, so akin to our high school tournament, but really for rookies and sophomores in the league. And then we have the NBA All-Star Saturday night, and then we have the actual game on Sunday. It's gone through a couple of evolutions, but we have so many things around that week when we come in and take over the city. So when you talk about that MICE effect, we have concerts, many concerts. We have fan activations. We do conferences. So one of the highlights of our All-Star weekend is the NBA Technology Summit. A lot of guests fly in just for the Technology Summit, and they don't even stay for the weekend.
Yeah.
Because it is where we showcase technology that we want to use in the future. It's kind of like a future take. So when you talk about MICE, it's really around the sporting game and the sporting events, but then you have so many things that are around it, like concerts and conferences and things like that, yeah.
Which pretty much means that the game itself becomes just part of the entire, I would say, like a festival whereby...
Yeah, absolutely, which is why we call it NBA All-Star Weekend. We don't call it a game, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to the MICE industry, you can take some of the facets that are happening in sport, having an always-on kind of strategy. So, obviously the topics are different, the industries are different, but there's no reason why you couldn't have bite-sized content perpetually throughout the year to keep people on tenterhook, on the pulse of what's going on in that industry, showcasing the personalities that are leading those industries, having debates or kind of mini pockets of content that can galvanize an audience rather than having just one tentpole event happening and then we sort of see you next year. You need to have that sort of content plan. So sports has been doing that for a long, long time. And that's not just because it's personality driven, it's also at the business end of it. There's this kind of attitude towards keeping the dialogue, keeping the business side of the sport going all the time, because I think that is what makes it very, very exciting. So I think in the MICE space, you want to be very audience-led, you want to be data-focused, and also sort of values-focused. Each event here, each industry has a set of values. It's bringing that to the top, and making sure that that's flowing throughout a year. I mean, that's what sport does very well on the business side.
Yeah. Li-Lin, anything to add about this cross-sector collaboration between sport and events?
You caught me. I suppose if you look at it from padel's lens, it's a microcosm of all of that, because in itself is completely experiential. I think the reason why they say it's so addictive, besides the fact that the sport is fun, is that it congregates everyone. And every time, there's always some sort of social activity with the drinks and everything all together. We haven't gotten to the curve yet where it's so popular that everybody can watch it easily. I think it's rather like squash at the moment, where they have to find some way where you can kind of capture the ball and you can participate in that. And I think that will come because the growth is just It's exponential at this point. So on the microcosmic level, when everyone's just playing, you know that there's an embracing of all the elements that would be inherent in sports. So by the time the sector grows, whether it's the mice, whether it is these international plays, whether it's community-driven and school-driven and all that, I think it would be just a natural course as well.
Okay, interesting. Let's switch gears and talk about formats. Let's talk about traditional sports, right? Sheila's side of the fence, and then emerging sports. So I think within the MICE industry, a lot of us, especially event organizers, we have this dilemma whereby things are working fine. You know, the events that we organize, very profitable, but then it's the same old year on year. Do we want to then invest time, effort, money to create new formats that hopefully might work, might not work, or should we stick to what is profitable and what is comfortable to the audiences? And so, to Sheila, basketball is a legacy sport. It's obviously hard to evolve, keeping pace with, you know, switching attention, and then basically media habits as well. How would the NBA kind of like reimagine its format and content? And then again, bearing in mind you have a lot of, you're mentioning that you have a lot of audiences that are 55 and above, without losing the NBA's legacy and history.
Yeah, we are a traditional sport, I guess, or a legacy sport as you call it, but that's, I think, why very important for us to kind of reinvent how that's being presented and delivered to our fans. So whether you're the 55-year-old that is used to watching it on TV or the 15-year-old that's used to watching it on a mobile phone, we want to be where the fan is. And so when Elliot talks about sports is great at embracing technology, we're not afraid of technology. We've tried everything under the sun, and we'll continue to try everything under the sun. Some's going to stick and some's not going to stick. So when we talk about game presentation, so we have our own reimagined NBA app where you can watch all our games on an app. We have formats where you can go in, you can pick a game, and you can pick a stream that you want to watch. You can pick the traditional stream, which is with the game commentators, but you can also pick a stream that is in a different language. You can pick a stream that is being commentated by influencers or celebrities. You can pick a camera angle where you're sitting courtside. You can pick a camera angle where you're sitting in the bleachers, although I don't know why anyone would want to watch the game with that view, but we have that. And you can also have a forum to watch the game and chat with your friends. So we're trying everything. We want to cater to both young and old. And so I think that streaming part will become a lot more important for us because that's where the industry is going. And so we just recently signed a global deal where we are now not on just traditional formats, but we are also on streaming devices. So we will be on Amazon, right? So kind of, as Elliot said, it's being disrupted. So we just kind of have to be where the fan is. Yeah.
But remember there, and I'll just add to what Sheila said, the disruption is the NBA are on Amazon. Well, not a lot of people watch content on Amazon in every region around the world.
Sports on Amazon.
For sports. So in certain markets like the US, absolutely, Amazon is going to drive success for NBA. But then when it comes to other emerging markets, you're going to have local players that are streaming, you're going to have local broadcasters, you might have a YouTube strategy. It's highly, highly fragmented. And what I will add there is that the NBA, they own their IP, they own their league. There's high risk with everything that they do. A lot of people will assume that because they're cash rich or because they're as big as they are, that they can just throw things at the wall, and if it sticks, it sticks, and if it doesn't matter, we'll go on to the next project. That's not the case. In elite sports, every time that they're doing a new format or catering to a new audience, there is a high risk involved. There is a lot of cost that goes into that. There's a lot of repercussions if that does not work. But then on the other hand, you can then run AI with grassroots or emerging sports with a less level of investment. So there's the ability with AI and tech to do a variety of different things, but there's consequence on different levels for every single sport.
Which probably is going to help, again, relatively new sport like padel, right? which is then obviously gaining popularity very quickly. But then again, there are barriers like limited infrastructure, again, a bit of public awareness.
Before you ask that, I was going to ask you back.
Yes.
I'm going to deviate from your first question, though, when you were talking about like whether the mice industry should, so naughty, sorry.
Yeah.
I feel like the question wasn't answered.
Okay.
When we were saying, should you
Yes.
be worried about the bottom line part, or do you kind of change format? Did you manage to get the answer that you wanted?
Somewhat. Okay, but what's your take on that? Whether we should go full in, invest, new formats, whether or not
I
it's
don't think your
successful?
stakeholders or anybody will want you to just throw money
Yeah.
on something that's completely untested. But I mean, pertinent to what we had started or prefaced in the beginning, that's worthwhile learning from sports is to embrace experimentation. So all the elements and tools are there for you to embrace, and obviously the idea, how, and that content that people are wanting to be connecting with, and then translating that. So I wouldn't say, change format, and then you hope that sticks, because I don't think that's going to be the case. And case in point, NBA is constantly testing, and they're lining up a few ducks and see which one succeeds. And that would be the same when we are building businesses from white space. We're like lining up a few ducks, and then we take some data points and figure out what works.
What we've also seen in sports, though, and it still has a long way to go, is you have results-driven connections, whether that's results in business or that's connections of the fan following results, or it's identity connection, both in business and not business. So, you're going to get more young executives now that are not just about transacting. It's about, well, what themes are important to me? Sustainability, it might be inclusion, creativity. So I think bringing those things to the surface, sports has really done a good job of that as well in a B2B environment. So those are some of the themes that I think other industries can learn from.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, sports has a lot to learn from other industries as well. There's a lot of rough edges in sports, but those kind of things are important. A young executive now has got a very different attitude to how they might trade or they might do business compared to a near 50-year-old like myself. So.
Which is a very nice segue into the next topic, which is reinvention. So Li-Lin nearly put me on the spot earlier. Now I'm going to put you on the spot. Perfect person to answer this. So your journey, right, as a ballet scholarship recipient, pioneering Pilates in Singapore, obviously built a media acting career, leadership roles in public health, and then now leading basically commercial and event IPs in sports. That's a lot. How do you keep reinventing yourself time and again?
If you ask me, first you must have very thick skin, because not everyone's going to give you, a first break, and they'll just, especially if you've had a high profile, being a personality, then you go, but she's just the actress, right? So you just kind of, as with everything, you kind of have a plan, and then you just follow it. And I think agility, neuroplasticity, and all these sort of stuff are critical. Having a thick skin is important, and the desire to learn. So one of the things I'm always hoping more of the people that we hire is like, don't wait to be told. Go learn. And obviously in your job, there are all these things that you want to do. And I've been in healthcare, I've been in wellness, I've been in sports, I've been in public service, I've been in real estate, I've been in media, I've been in a whole bunch of stuff. And the principles of business or the principles of getting things done is the same, right? So it's a matter of form and substance. So that determination to want to learn and to be open-minded and to have a growth mindset is critical.
Yeah, and in keeping with our conference team, what's next? So what's next for you?
What's next for me? I'm still doing this.
For now.
One foot in front of the other. Yeah. I think there's still a lot more to be done with padel, and it's quite exciting, actually.
Okay.
Does anybody play padel here?
Padel players.
Do you even know what it is?
Padel players.
Oh yeah, good. So we run Prime Padel. Next time you are, and we just started something in front of MFA in Dempsey, so please come and support us.
Yeah, full disclosure, my day job is at Constella Singapore Expo. We have paddle courts indoor, fully air conditioned.
Don't get me there. But you want them to remove the cords from time to time, which is very dangerous, because then it's not structurally sound.
Okay, on to Elliot. You've driven business transformation at many companies. So what aspects of the sports entertainment ecosystem would you think is now ripe for reinvention?
In sports, all of it. So whether that's stadium venues, if it's ticketing, if it's wearable technology for sports players, if it's broadcasting, if it's production, sponsorship, how we talk to clients, how we speak to advertisers, all of it is being disrupted. So I'm quite excited about where sports as an industry is going. It just means that there's a lot of work to do. But definitely the role of technology, and not just the AI side I'm in, but AI in general is going to play a really disruptive part in that in sports. But what that doesn't mean is complete job loss or anything else. I mean, there's a lot that's talked about with big tech, and we've seen a lot of news on that this week, with a lot of layoffs and conjecture about AI and big tech and everything else. But in the sports industry, what people forget is not everybody has big organizations. I mean, I'm not sure how many people in the NBA globally, but it's, what is it?
Less than 2,000.
Right, so consider,
globally.
So that's that number. So when we talk about big tech, if you look at Amazon, there's 1.6 million employees. So sometimes the messaging between sort of new tech and bloated organizations gets lost, and AI is being blamed for a lot of things right now. But if you look at the sports industry, there's lean teams. The industry needs tech to do a lot of the new things it needs to do. So it's actually a very exciting and dynamic time.
Lean teams that are expected to do more and more and more.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's just a trend, isn't it, about poly workers? Like, you just have to do more than just one track of jobs right now. I don't think you have.
Yeah, that's very prevalent among all the MICE companies here. Talking about reinvention, so the NBA has partnered with BTS and other K-pop artists. Could you tell us a bit more about all of this cross-sector collaboration and how is it working?
So, like you said, we're a traditional legacy sport, right? So how do we stay young? How do we reach the Gen Z, the Gen Alphas now coming up?
Entertainment.
But, where we enjoy a position is that we sit at the confluence of sport, culture, and entertainment, and lifestyle, and fashion, all of the above. Our players are personalities who are leaders in many of those spaces. And we want to be where the trends are, where the latest upcoming hotspots are. And we partnered with Hybe Corporation. We have a strategic partnership with Hybe to sort of work with them to not only help them popularize the Korean aspects of lifestyle and entertainment, but then for us to also help them promote that back through our own channels.
So it's a win-win,
It's
right?
kind of a win-win.
Leverage on
everything.
each other's audiences.
And actually how our partnership with Suga, who is one of the band members of BTS, arguably the biggest band in the world, is that he is a huge NBA fan. In fact, not many people know this, but his name, Suga, actually stands for shooting guard. Shooting guard. Which is
guard.
Which is a position.
Like a Steph Curry.
Yes, which is a position you play on the court.
Okay.
But no one knew that was actually the genesis of his name. Suga came from shooting guard, and he used to play basketball. He used to have a team. And so for us, it was also about that storytelling where our fans come from all walks of life, even someone from BTS. And so we've done a lot of genuine storytelling. We want to tell authentic stories. And through that, we've done a lot of collaborations with him, whether it's through content, merch collab, where he is the one that is an integral part of like designing our merch. So, just sort of those authentic experiences that again bring us closer to the fan at the end of the day.
So how would again, talking about working with star power, right? Whether it's, boy groups or whether it's with the actual NBA players, how's the experience like? How are they? And
I think with our players, they are also brands in themselves. So someone like Steph Curry that you mentioned, or even LeBron James. They have amassed such a huge following where they are not just an athlete, they are also an influencer. They also provide inspiration for young fans, not just from a sports perspective, but also, you know, how to come out through poverty, right? He is an influential figure in lifestyle, and so there are a lot of bands or singers that actually approach him and say, hey, can I launch my song on your social media handle? Like, so he has even helped and done that through his own platforms. And so now our players themselves are personalities, whereas in the past, you know, there was no social media, it was very difficult. But now with social media, through our digital platforms, there's just so much more connections that they have to their fan.
And to add to that, you know, we have football, everybody is a football fan in Singapore. In the UK,
there was a game last night.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. You have creator-led content. So there's a creator in the UK now that runs a platform called the United Stand. It leans on Manchester United, but it's also quite generic football. He will get higher viewership than Sky Sports without rights. So he'll have more viewership of people watching him talk to the camera
Yep.
with no footage than Sky Sports will with Gary Neville on a live broadcast. And the other thing that's happened in the last week is that we've got the World Cup in the US next year. A creator platform in Brazil called Kazé TV has just won the broadcast rights ahead of any other broadcaster in Brazil. So that's very significant for our industry, but also for creators, for the future of how we're going to consume content. So they may sub-license that out to TV, but they suddenly are going to control how Brazilians are going to watch the Brazil national team in the World Cup. And a year ago, that would have been unheard of. So you're seeing all of this change happening. It's interesting, but it's also highly disruptive. So yeah, that's what's going to be exciting, I think.
Yeah, talking about Manchester United, and again, talking about the most followed sports person or human on Instagram, Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't think a lot of people know. So part of his image rights are actually managed right out of Singapore. Yep. Like, how did that even happen?
Oh, it's a long story. But anyway, Mint Media Sports have some which I'm parked at. We do handle a lot of that. So actually, when Prime Padel was launched, he soft launched to us when he came to Singapore 2 years ago. And Cristiano and the business owner has been friends for a long time. But obviously, you know, I think football is the most popular sport in the world. It's popular in Asia, it's popular in Latin America. So where he was based is mainly in Europe, and then he wanted at that time to reach past Europe. So it was natural to have an Asian office here as well.
So has it been working out for him? Is he getting more like Asian endorsements? And
I don't think we have anything to do with his own success. He has his own brand. And there's a story that people didn't know. He wasn't on social media in the past, and then Facebook was like, you know, you got to be on social media. It's like, no, it's like, but you're going to have at least 60 million followers. It's like, no way. That's like, they started laughing. That's the population of Portugal. No way. But of course, you know, in an instant, in a blink of an eye, he gets that number. And in fact, when he came to Singapore, like in less than a couple of hours, there were like 800 million impressions just by him, you know, holding a racket with Prime Padel on it. So it's
I think
very
really,
powerful.
yeah, that's the power, you know, of like individual brands like LeBron James, Cristiano Ronaldo. Last question, and I think for all of you, I think it's very interesting that I think sport remains one of the last bastions of live programming. And again, that's akin to how we, you know, organize events, right? That can capture large global audiences. What can the MICE industry learn from sport in this aspect? Elliot, would you like to have a go at this?
That's a tough one. I think you just have to remain very authentic in how you deliver content. I think experiment on some of those other formats that we've talked about to pull people into the traditional format that you have. I mean, in the sports piece, we've touched on it during this discussion, but it is the last bastion of traditional broadcast in the TV industry, but it's eroding. And you know, you've got streaming that's coming along, and is that going to that in effect is still linear TV. It's just in a different format. But the linear TV that we all know and love and we've grown up with is eroding. And that's presenting major challenge to broadcasters locally here in Singapore, elsewhere as well. So I think you can take some lessons, but I think the other thing is learning from the new media side, which is what we've spoken about. I think it's experimentation, it's short form, bite-sized content, always on, telling stories, thinking about your audience from a B2B perspective, but not necessarily having loads of data, but have smart data so that you can personalize that content for what you're doing as an industry. And as I touched on, being values-led as well, because I think that's going to become very, very important.
Yeah, very good point. Lin, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I suppose if you're saying content and it's pertinent to the MICE industry, it doesn't have to be consume content. So it will be your 2-3 days conference, and how do you kind of segment multiple sessions of that creates touch points for your audience throughout the year or in many, many places, so that you can continue to engage them. Yeah.
For us, it's really just thinking about the fan and coming from a fan's perspective. So I guess from a MICE perspective, it's like who is attending and who you're trying to engage with, and thinking about how they would want to see certain things, how they would want to see certain things delivered, and then keeping those in mind as you create formats, content, online to offline events, offline to online events. So, I think the offline to online is becoming that much more important now, because you have an offline event, but how does that play out online? And to the online effect, it's that online effect that's going to actually keep the conversation going. Yeah. Way longer and way after your offline event is done.
I think experience.
Experience.
Yeah, I think in sports we sometimes in AI or tech circles talk about AI being mascots. Think of it as an array of mascots for your sport or your part of the industry. So think of AI as a kind of ambassador to your industry, and think of a world where maybe the AI, with permissions of course, is going to tally you up and do a lot of the outreach that you might want to do, or predict and connect you to people that you want to do, rather than you spending hours of time trying to go on different platforms to try and connect, or running around conference venues. So we'll have different worlds like that where the AI will come in or the tech will come in and be beneficial.
Great conversation, guys. We are running out of time. I just realized, my bad, that we have 8 questions on Pigeonhole. Do we have time to just take one? Okay, so just the top voted question. This is from the audience. How are new form of sports, such as esports, hybrid competitions, or creator-led leagues reshaping the definition of sport today?
How are they reshaping?
Yeah, probably talking about emerging sports, again, like padel, high rocks.
I guess the fact that it's so immersive and interactive. And
e-gaming as well,
It's completely...
Yeah, so the gaming side is interesting. I mean, of course, it delivers revenue, and there was a lot of hype around that post-COVID. The engagement's still high, but a lot of gaming companies have had a lot of financial problems, and that's because they've tried to navigate esports in the same ways as traditional sports. And so you're seeing a lot of them challenge right now and having to sort of redefine what they're doing. All the while, there are lots of gamers and everything else, but they've, to commercialize that like football or the NBA or the NFL is not going to be that way. So I think those businesses are having to reestablish and reset what they're doing with other sports, whether it's padel or it's other emerging formats like short-form football like Baller League in the UK or unrivaled basketball in the US. It's very much lifestyle-focused. It's more down to how one wants to dress or the lifestyles that they want to portray, and bringing in sport into that kind of thing, rather than it being how football evolved or how basketball evolved, NBA basketball evolved. So it's different. They're all at different stages of their evolution.
Or even like break dancing, Olympic sport. Who would have thought that, right?
So we work with two or three businesses right now, which are quite interesting. We work with Professional Pillow Fighting League.
That's interesting.
Big league, and they use AI for short form highlights. We also...
I'm afraid you have to end here. End on a note where we are learning new sports on the go. Thank you so much, Elliot, Li-Lin,
Thank you,
Sheila.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
to be here.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much, Eugene, and to our panelists as well. If I could invite you to come forward, please, for a group photo. While we have everyone here together, maybe at the front of the stage, all huddled together. We're going to do a couple of photos and a video to cam as well. Now, I know all of you are sitting tight for our final panel. They are all set and ready to rumble backstage. Great energy. It's been fantastic energy throughout the entire day for SMF 2025. Really powerful day as well. And thank you, Eugene, for navigating that panel with us as well, talking all things reinvention, media, and the rise of new sports. I saw some of your reactions too to the potential new sporting ideas. Some great reception